everybody. This is Josh with Quality Storage Buildings.
Yeah, and I'm Daniel here with Quality Storage Buildings, one of the partners.
So today we're talking about 5 things to know when purchasing a shed. And this is pretty important just because there's a lot of shed companies out there. There's a lot of options, and it can be kind of overwhelming when you're trying to jump into something like this, wanting to make sure you get a quality building when you're putting money out for something. So let's start into it. Number 1, foundation prep. So what should people know when they're going in to get a building? What kind of questions should they be asking when it comes to the type of foundation for the building?
Yeah, foundation prep is a really important part because, I mean, really this can affect you down the road. Your doors could come out of level, and quit working. And so just this is something to really think about. There's really 3 different options for leveling your building. Blocking, concrete blocks is one option. Gravel pads is another one, and concrete is the third one. Now, the most popular is blocking because it's the most economical. And your shed company should provide blocks with the building. And I would say a minimum, don't block further apart than 8 feet on center underneath the skids, which technically there should be skids underneath the building if they're getting hauled in.
Exactly. And so, those are a couple important questions to ask. Do you provide blocking and leveling? If you don't, how much does it cost to add that as an upgrade? And then how far apart do you put your blocking? 8 feet on center. And then you could also ask, do you provide gravel pads? Do you provide a concrete slab? And those are all important things that you can check on when it comes to foundation prep.
On the gravel pads is going to be a really good option too. It's a little more costly than the blocking. Because you're going to be paying for it. But if you go 4 to 6 inches thick and then surround the outside with 4x4 treated timbers, that's going to be a really good option too because it's flat and leveled. You can set the building right on top of that and not have to worry about blocks potentially coming out of level. So that's another really good option too.
So those are all good, important things to keep in mind when you're working and contacting a shed company. What kind of foundation do you use? Second, space for delivery. This is a very important one that I think gets overlooked. So when we're talking about space for delivery, what are we talking about?
Really be thinking about this because really there's 2 parts of getting the building into the location. Can we get this building in? Can you get have the company deliver the building to the spot? And then also the space where it's setting. Be thinking about where you're going to set it in your backyard and how far from the fence you're going to keep it. So that's just some things to be thinking about. And as far as getting it into the spot, most companies have what they call a mule. So you can unload the shed in the road and then pull it back in. So just have that in mind and provide space wider than the building. If you're getting in a 10 wide, 12 to 14 feet of width. So that's just some things to consider. It's not going to fit through your walking gate.
Exactly. And so as you're, preparing to purchase a building, be thinking through, your property. Think through, okay, I've got a gate. I've got some low-hanging trees. I've got some of these different things. And that will impact, what you ask a company and the kind of things that you explore. You might have to say, do you build on site? And that might be something to check on. And that's why spacing for delivery is so vitally important when you're getting a building.
It'll save you a lot of headache.
It will save you a lot of headache. So number 3, styles of buildings. There's a lot of styles of buildings out there, but narrowing down, what you want is going to be pretty important.
Really define what you're using this shed for. So if you're using this for Christmas decorations, you pull out once a year and lawnmower space, a lofted barn could be a really good option. So really define what you want. And then from there, you can pick out the style. Another popular is a utility shed. You could get the 8-foot walls or the 6-foot walls, to store your stuff on the wall, your garden tools that you use quite often, and your 4-wheeler can pull in. So really define what you want and then pick the style accordingly.
Exactly. And for a lot of people, it's not just practical. Like we work with a lot of folks that it's aesthetic. I just like the look of a barn style roof, or I just like the look of a garden shed. And that's totally fine. As long as it's meeting your needs, the aesthetic is totally up to you. Just kind of, think about, what style do I want? And just look around because there are so many different versions and styles. And so when you're working with a company, say, I'm interested in a lofted, and look on their website to find out what exactly they do offer. So keep in mind, and be thinking about what style of shed do you want. Number 4, a construction of the building. Now, this is like, we probably could put it second to foundation.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's so important. But like when people are looking for a building, what kinds of things should they know to be looking for?
Yeah, I would say definitely pay attention to the spacings of the floor joists, of the studs. Really pay attention to that in the rafters. We're out of Texas, so you don't have to worry as much on the snow load, but definitely consider the spacings. There's companies out there that do 24-inch on spacings on the wall studs. There's companies that do 16 inches on spacing. I'd highly recommend the 16.
Yes.
It's standard framing. Any wider than that, you really get a lot of flex in the walls. And also in the floor joists, you really need 16 inches on center spacing.
Exactly.
Another thing on the structural side is the siding.
Yep.
So your siding is really important. It not only provides a lot of structural integrity to the building, but also aesthetically.
Yes.
So if you go with the LP Smart siding, which is probably the most common out there in the shed world, you can choose your colors. So your aesthetic appeal is a little nicer because you can match your house. You can choose trim colors, shutter colors, door colors. There's a lot of different options on that. And then the other option is the metal.
Right.
Which
it is,
a lot of times people think it's cheaper, and there is cheaper aspects of a metal building, but you can't really seal it off that well.
Right.
And also, there is chances of it fading, and also the overall structural integrity of a wood building is going to last you a while. Also, thickness of siding is a really important factor in that too. Are you getting a 3/8 siding, or are you getting
a 7/16? So. Yeah, exactly. And those are definitely all things that play into it.
Yeah. Another thing about the structural integrity is there headers. That's something that's overlooked a lot. Is there headers in the building?
Yeah, exactly. Double top plate layers.
Double top plate.
Yeah.
Triple studded corners.
Exactly. Yeah, all of that is so important. And so when you're interacting with a company, be asking those important questions. Are your studs 16 inches on center? Are your floor joists 16 inches on center? As well as, and again, this goes to what your needs are, but if you're going to be putting really heavy things in a building, and by that we mean, you're going to be putting a bunch of really large four-wheelers, for example, in the building, you're probably not going to want 2x4s, even if they're 16 on center. It's just not going to be your best option. 2x6s, at least 16 on center, is going to be what you're going to want. And so be thinking about that as well. Don't just go for the cheapest thing, because a 2x4 16 on center is going to be cheaper. Like, you can expect that. But it's not going to meet your needs if you're going to be putting those kinds of heavy things in. So keep those things in mind. What's going to best meet the need that I have when I'm going into buying a building and looking for quality when I'm putting my money out there.
Yeah.
Number 5, purchase versus payment type. So you've got, when you're going to get a building, you have different types of ways that you can pay for it. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, there's several different options out there, and it really depends on what your financial state is. Right. But there's a really popular payment plan out there. It's called Rent Home, where you rent the building in your backyard instead of renting a unit that you have to drive to across town, spend money on gas and stuff like that. So Rent Home is a really good option, in place of that. And it's no credit check. Most often it should be no credit check.
Yeah, generally,
For us, it's no credit check.
Right.
And you can do an early payoff or early purchase option on that too. So you're renting the building and you can own it when you pay it off.
Yeah, exactly.
Purchase option. And then another popular one is just purchase outright.
Yeah, exactly.
Most companies require a deposit to get the building started, and then the balance on delivery. You're going to want to pay attention to companies' reputation if you're giving them a deposit. Just something to think about. Another option is financing, traditional financing. Yep. You can go through your local bank. We have some financing options, traditional financing. Yeah. It's going to affect your credit score.
It will.
Could be a downside on the financing.
Right. And
but also if you have good credit, financing is a great option too.
Right. And it depends, like, do you, we have folks that don't want their credit to be impacted. And so they decide, I would rather do rent to own versus credit. Now, just to be clear, rent to own isn't financing. So there is a distinction there. It is a rental program. It's not a financing program. So keep that in mind when you're doing rent to own. But just, when you're talking to a company, be asking them what kind of programs they have to offer. Do you offer financing? If that's something that you're interested in, do you offer rent to own? And if you do, what are your stipulations? What are your regulations? What types of payment plans do you offer? What amounts of down payments are you requiring? Do you offer 90 days same as cash?
Yeah.
Do you offer early payoff? These are pretty important things to be checking on when you're working with a company. Now, if you have the budget and you can just purchase outright, good for you.
Yeah,
let's go for it. Go for it. But if you do decide to go rent to own, just make sure you're doing your due diligence to check up on some of those details. So we think these are the best 5 things to know when you're starting off buying a shed. Now, there are more things that we could talk about. There's a lot more things that we could talk about. And maybe we'll put this in more videos down the way here. But we hope this video was helpful for you as you're looking into buying your shed. And the goal behind this was we want to help you. And so if you have more questions beyond this video, feel free to reach out to us at 254-687-9209. And one of our consultants would be more than happy to answer any questions that you might have. And if you're in our area, they'd be more than happy to help get you a building headed your way. So again, we hope you enjoyed this, and we'll look forward to talking with you soon. Have a great day.